So the meeting is recorded. It can be viewed later on YouTube, and you can get the link either through our website, which is sAAA.shutterfly.com, or you can go on the Facebook as well. And we normally get that on probably a couple days after the meeting. Okay. While we're waiting, because people are still coming in, I think I'll put up the name that artifact. Give you a minute to look at that, and then we'll start the meeting right after that. Okay, I'll just leave that up a minute. Anyone have any ideas? You can unmute yourself and let me know what you think it is. That's a tough one.
I think it's a pencil lead.
Well, it's made of lead. That's one thing, but it is not a pencil.
Okay.
It's a piece of, I don't want to tell you what it was, but it's made of lead. It was found on Ivory Street in the shop that was operating probably at the turn of the, around 1900, maybe just a little bit before 1900. Okay, rather than keep you in suspense, let me see if I can bring the next one up, because this is a hard one. Okay, that's another view of it. Maybe some of you can get a better guess on that.
Like for printing, it's a, like a letter for printing.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah, there was a print shop on Ivory Street. That is either a G or a C. It's lead. And it's a manual typeset. Years ago, you had to take the letters and line them up. That was found a couple of years back on Ivory Street with a number of other ones. Probably just fell out of the box and was laying in the ground. So who was that, Suzanne? You got that right?
Yes, but I couldn't think of the words typeset.
Yeah, that's what it was. Very good. Excellent.
Good job, Suzanne.
Well, thank you. It's the end view is what gave it away.
Oh, you'd never get it from the other one. That's why when Catherine gave it to me, I didn't know what it was either. But you got to show both ends.
Congratulations, you're the speaker tonight, Suzanne.
Yeah, that's right. She wins the prize.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see what's going on. Robbie, you there? Anything going on with FPAN?
Corsair is Dawn. We always got stuff going on. We have a few things coming up in May. May 14th at 9:00 a.m. We have our partnership, the North American Heritage at Risk group that we're part of. And Eric Kanza is speaking, and he's going to talk about his work with publishing archaeological data online with open context. And then we haven't had this in a while, but we're having our HADS, which is our Heritage American Diving Seminar, taking place May 18th through 20th. And that's 6 to 8 p.m. So that's really if you guys know of any professional divers that want to know more about proactive in protecting our underwater cultural sites. That's what that workshop's for. And then we have our Spring into Zoom lecture series where Emily Jane is going to be doing a talk on fantastic archaeology, which is basically the different archaeological fantastic tales, frauds, myths, and mysteries. So that's Thursday, May 20th at 7 p.m. And then again, every month we've been doing our HMS, our Heritage Monitoring Scouts workshop. And that's going to be Thursday, May 27th, 10 a.m., 12. And I'm going to put all this in the chat, which will be, I think then a hard talk is just a direct Zoom link. You don't even have to register. You can just press on it. All the rest, I mean, it's all free. It's all Zoom. You just need to register and you'll get sent a link. But that's about it.
Okay, thank you, Robbie. On the county side, I know most of you probably got our newsletter, and they mentioned some of the things that had happened in the county. If you go to their website, which is St. Johns County, sjc200.com, there's an awful lot of activities that are planned for the July period. So you may want to do that. And I don't think Mercedes, are you online now? Yeah, I don't think she was, but she did mention that there's a lot of activities going on. Let me just share the screen one more time here before we get into the lectures. The FAS meeting and conference is still scheduled for the 21st or the 23rd. I have not gotten too much details as to the content. When we get that, we'll pass it on to you, but those are the dates. And you can get more information from their website. And with that, without further ado, I will introduce our local dynamic duo that we do every year.
Excuse me, is it a Zoom conference, the FAS?
Yes, it's virtual, right?
Thank you.
Any other questions on that? Okay. As I said, the local dynamic duo will be with us tonight, and they really need no introduction. The first speaker is going to be Sarah Miller. She is the director of Northeast and East Central FPAN. So she doesn't need any introduction, but some of you people probably are wondering, what are all these acronyms? So I will at least introduce the acronym. FPAN is the Florida Public Archaeology Network. So without further ado, let me turn it over to Sarah. It's all yours.
Great, thank you. I do have a PowerPoint, and at the end I do have a video. So if you want to close your eyes and pretend you're in a magic place as I get my sharing screen going. And please, y'all, yell at me if it's not going to show. I have to start the slideshow. So let me, oh no, my thing's in the way. Move over. And all right, are you looking at a cover slide now?
We can see it, Sarah.
Good to go.
Thank you. All right, welcome. Year 15, you have endured these talks for me, and I really appreciate it because it's such a good time of reflection, and especially sharing this year, which was a year like no other. I do want to start with a land acknowledgement and pay respect to elders past and present, and extend respect to the Appalachian Nation, the Muskogee Creek Nation, the Miccosukee Tribe of Florida, the Seminole Tribe of Florida, and also the Gullah Geechee Nation, descendants of the enslaved, and a vibrant culture living here today that we were very honored to work with more this year than any other year. So we're excited to keep that partnership up and moving forward. Tonight, I will be saying we a lot, and this is the we I mean is Emily Jane Murray on our left. She's outreach coordinator for the Northeast region. Emily Dietrich, who was in our office in Sanford, was closed partially due to COVID. So Emma now lives downtown St. Augustine in a house Chuck used to live in. So everything old is new again, and we'll know where to find her. But she still serves the East Central region all the way down to Okeechobee. And Robbie Boggs, who is your SAAA board member and also our office manager. And we have all been out in the field recently. So if you see any of us reaching around, it's because we're covered in ticks and chiggers and all sorts of good stuff. So I thought tonight I would just hit the highlights, do 1, 2, 3, 4, talk about COVID-19 outreach and our pivots there, HMS Florida, where that grant is at right now since we talked last year. You heard Robbie say the acronym NAHAR. So it's a new get to know better acronym, and why you as a SAAA member might be interested in learning more about NAHAR. And then save the date, a couple of upcoming activities that we have. Some of them Robbie mentioned, but definitely need to make a case for, we need your help. So come out and help us. And then I've been challenged to, and I was going to end with a very serious video. And Emily Jane said, I think it's time. We can share this silly with SAAA, who knows us and loves us. So we're going to share a video of how we coped a little bit with the pandemic. Online programming. I did not put in my work plan any planning for a pandemic last year. So it took a lot of pivoting to get our education outreach, working with the public. How many people do we talk to a year, and move that into online? And last year, this was actually one of our first experiments. So thank you for having us for this talk last year, a year ago tomorrow. If you want to celebrate that instead of Cinco de Mayo, I'm sure Chuck and I are available for margaritas and nachos. But that was one of our first forays into a Zoom talk and what that would be like. So exciting. We are all so versed in Zoom now, and we're live instead of recorded. And Zoom. I started a album of all my Zoom screen caps, and I got over 80 in a very short amount of time. So our life has been on Zoom, but it's important to keep up that contact and that networking and move some of our projects further along. One of the things that is a great benefit that came out of the pandemic was tea and trowels. And I hope Emily Jane's going to put the URL to that in the comments. 50 episodes, y'all. They have shot 50 episodes where they sit down with an archaeologist. They ask them some of their favorite field stories, their favorite tool, how they're going to save the world, how they've been coping in a pandemic. Many familiar names to you, but this was very successful, just short of 4,000 views from archaeologists working in 18 states, 3 countries, and 40 partners, including St. Augustine City archaeologists, LAMP, Flagler College archaeologists, Bureau of Archaeological Research, Seminole Tribe, NOAA, UNF, UCF, and Emily Jane, I think, is going to post a link to the playlist. So check that out. And the last episode was them interviewing themselves with some highlights. We pivoted a lot of our in-person workshops that we love to do, and it had always been in the work plan to try and do these hybrid or online to reach more people. So forced to do that this year, yay. But we have done so far 6 crypt workshops. So we have 78 new cemetery stewards trained and walking Florida, trying to help take care of more cemeteries. Our HMS workshops also pivoted to online. We have 6 of those under our belt and a 7th coming up, as Robbie mentioned, May 27th. What we did notice was that we lost a little of that grassroots local flavor, and we had a lot of people from other states, even a few from other countries attending, especially for the crypt. I think there were other archaeologists looking at the programs and how to have them launch in their own state. So a little different demographic, but still well populated. And we also thought, well, virtual lectures are fun. Let's pick some of our favorites, because you know, a pandemic is a little wearing on the soul. So Emily Jane was like, you know, I love beer. I'm going to talk about ancient fermentation, and probably had our most popular talk of the year. There might have been a little depantsing in the back. We can't verify what happened there at the end, but it was a fun talk. Emma Dietrich did Dead Cats Don't Mew and other tales of piracy along Florida's East Coast. And I got to break out my Majolica manicures. And if you know Lindsay Block, she's a lab lead at the ceramic lab at UF, and she is so far gone into her own transfer print wear nails. It's a beautiful thing to see, mostly on her Twitter and Facebook, but next level, y'all. So it was nice to have kind of almost like a pajama party discussing nails and ceramics, as you would always want to do. Spoiled ourselves with that for December. So that's a little of our pivot to COVID-19 outreach. So excited to see you all and get beyond our screens. Want to give you an update on the HMS Florida grant, because we've been talking about it for so many years. We are in the home stretch of this grant cycle. We had a large special category grant. Thank you to SAAA, who wrote a letter of support for that grant. Right now, we're almost 2 years into it. We have just shy of 600 forms submitted, 500 sites monitored, some sites revisited, contributing scouts. That's some of you all who have submitted forms and new scout signups. We are getting an extension, so the HMS grant will go on to the end of October. It has really helped. The interim report help standardize a lot of how we're reporting HMS across the state, also help standardize some of our language of the disturbances we see, trying to get better training products for the scouts, so you can visually see what these different threats look like, what the different artifacts look like, and standardize our training a bit across the state as we go out to monitor. So one theme you will see of Talbot Island, Emily, Jane, and I having a lot of fun, but we're also very lonely because the missing component is you. You all should have been with us, but due to COVID-19, we were playing it safe, but still had 500 sites to go monitor for the grant money we got. So here we are up at Talbot Island, and you can just see the eroding shoreline, trees falling in. You get up to some of those root balls and you see there's intact midden deposits in some of those root balls and still in the side. So we went up and we mapped the shoreline. We monitored the sites up there. This may not look like the best thing you're going to see tonight, but to us it is. You are looking at an earthenwork dam across a rice plantation, and it was lost and the land managers hadn't been able to find it. And Emily Jane Murray goes out and she found that earthenwork dam, and she's pointing as it goes across that field. One thing we noticed is a lot of things that are made out of earthenwork are faring far better than those not. So this one was still in place and is a very significant, 18th, 19th century feature of this past plantation. We went across the bridge and had ourselves a whoop-de-doo with former impacts to the sites kind of near the fishing bridge. We were allowed to go with our permit, and on Florida State Parks, they gave us the key. They drove us over there. They're like, have fun. So we walked out there and got to document some sites that are really hard to get to and rarely seen. Other views of Talbot, eroding shorelines, mounds moving around. And again, we are so lonely. This is Emily Jane's album cover of Talbot Island. If she were to have an album cover, look how lonely she is. And we've been picking up these balloons and no public to be interacting with. And this is mine, my album cover of like, how am I on the wrong side of this? By the way, you want this barricade? If I see you in public, because you all know I'm a hugger, so up. And then we got to go out with you. This was our first public interface through the whole pandemic. We had been vaccinated. JB was recovering from his second shot that day, so masked up and distance. And thank you all. That was just a spirit for the soul to get out there and monitor these sites together. We still have some work to do. We left a few sites yet to be monitored, so some news on that at the end, but thank you. We have Kelsey, who is also doing some of that aero mapping. We have Cynthia. We've got some artifacts close up and some nice coquina ruins. We got to see eagles. It was a beautiful day to spend together and to get out and do some monitoring. That's not the only monitoring we did with SAAA. We have had some members come out for our very limited Anastasia State Park monitoring. There we are. We're visiting in the upper left with Dr. Lori Lee. There's a midden called Kelly and a midden called Steve that's out there at Anastasia. So we got to go check them out. And then you can see the dynamic duo of Nick and Cynthia helping us look at the button site and the fence line site. And they were brave to come into the brambles there. And we still have a little more recording to do there at Anastasia. We are just out of the field, like still the tick bites are still fresh from the GTM NER last week. And these are some of the finds that we discovered in our shoreline walk that we had missed before at some sites that have been identified before. So we have a deer bone pin shaped awl. We're still amazed that Emma saw it because she had been scanning a bear tooth and first thought, is that a bear tooth? What am I looking at? And then some orange incised ceramics. So one of the oldest ceramics here in the US. And we've got it here at this site called Little Orange out at the GTM NER. One thing we're doing and on top of monitoring the sites is we're walking the shoreline. You can see Emma wearing the arrow. The antenna is actually in the hat on top of her head. It gives us 30 centimeter accuracy to map the shoreline. And you might be like, wow, Sarah, 30 centimeters. We just got our arrow gold last Friday and it is 3 centimeter accuracy. So we're gonna go and map some more. And this just helps us see how the shoreline shifts. And it's something we can quickly do, volunteers can do, and Joe and Tom in Scotland, they're coming with an open use software app where volunteers can get more involved in mapping the shorelines together. And we also found a new site, and paperwork is not in yet officially, but it will be the Phil Guilford site, as he was a volunteer for us and for them. So the Guilford site, we will salute and get the paperwork in. Another big part of the grant is not just monitoring, but doing 3D scanning and digitizing. This would have been something too we could invite more people to come out with, but due to COVID, we had to quick get it done. So these are some drafts I'm just showing you. Fort Pierce Mound, scanned by Emma. The House of Refuge down in Martin County, scanned by Emma. This is a mill attributed to McCarty that's at Talamato State Park. This is one of those, we're not going to go there together. It is a wicked tick nasty, but how to share these sites with the public and make them accessible to you and to researchers. And we still got some cleaning up of that model to do. Emily Jane Murray doing that model. Miami Circle was the 12th site on our list. So thanks to Sarah Ayers Rigsby getting a 3D scan of that. This is Shell Bluff Landing. So what a different view. And these are models you can manipulate and turn all over. They just take forever to load. So I'm just showing you some screenshots, but you can see the well, you can see the washout of the shoreline. And our hope is eventually to get where we can do cloud to cloud comparisons and measure the volume that is lost, because it's pretty amazing. Anytime you go out there, it's hard to describe how much is lost. Now we hope to be able to describe more accurately. And our shining showpiece of 3D models, this is Bulow. We got to get into Bulow when it was closed for the public on off days. And that was one of the first places we could go distanced and do some scanning and get some work done. So that one has been printed and even painted by Emma. And you can feel the low spots in that model. So it's nice to look at, but also a good tool to demonstrate where those thin areas are happening. Nahar, North American Heritage at Risk. We were putting some grants together. As HMS grant is slowing down, we need another funding stream to support, especially our database manager. And we started a cadence of Friday family meetings with Lindsay Cochran on the left in Georgia and Meg Galliard in South Carolina on the right. And we just met every Friday working on some grants together. They want HMS in their states. I want to know how to do the modeling that Lindsay does. Meg does this intense next level mitigation that is just going to blow your mind. So how could we combine and work together for the Southeast? And you may be familiar with this DINA model of Southeastern sites at risk, but the Anderson et al. Article didn't really give a clear model of what to do next. So HMS is part of that, but doesn't really push to the finish line. So this is an idea we have of how to work together collaboratively and go all the way up to Maine in partnerships, even some in Canada, getting some more West Coast partners on board. What you as a SAAA member may be interested in is we have every other Friday these open public talks. Eric Kanza, he's doing digitization right now of objects from the space station. Like just some crazy, amazing stuff, but talking about digital literacy and data sharing. So he's top notch. He would be great to listen to. And we have an archive of past speakers. Maybe Emily Jane can put the Nahar website in and you can go. Marcy Rockman gave a great paper. Tom and Joe gave a great paper. There's some really good papers in there. We have a book club because why not? Whining about climate change. And the first book was about the fill-in areas in Charleston. And the author came and gave a presentation. She was so excited. We picked her book. Last month, we did public archaeology and climate change. And next month, we're doing a cluster of articles. So if you're interested in also whining about climate change mid-month-ish, drop me an email and I'll send you the link to articles. And the idea was just to push our literacy and have fun with this often depressing topic. So the Nahar model, this would be the modeling that Lindsay could bring. Interesting, when they did the planning for Matanzas project, they didn't map to that level in the GTM NER. So what would it look like from a historical ecology point of view, taking all the old maps, all old photographs, digitizing them, and then adding the future models to the 2100, we would be able to say a lot more about prioritization and prediction if we had that fine level and understanding of where we were standing And what it looked like 100 years ago, what it'll look like 100 years from now. So that's one of the objectives. Continue doing HMS and help export it to any other state that wants to use that model, because the monitoring that you all have been helping with is important to document how sites change over time. We make a lot of assumptions, but if you're not there, it's hard to say what happened. Some of you have participated in our community conversations about heritage at risk, and we're going to keep doing those because we want to get feedback from stakeholders, also from the Gullah Geechee, also from the local fisher people, from all those that use these sites, and have that being more heavily considered. Even though prioritization is still a little tricky, still needs to be some way that we can take the model data, the monitoring data, the stakeholder information, and start to make some methodizing decisions of what to go after. And this is a site Meg's works at in South Carolina, Pocky Island. This is what it looked like before COVID, her wonderful site. They get hundreds of volunteers. She was saying they have, maybe not at this site, but they use a conveyor belt to move out all the dense shellmen and things I've never heard about for excavating with that many people on board. And this is what it looked like a few months into COVID. It wasn't even a hurricane, just a storm took it from this to this. And she's pretty devastated, but how to mitigate and understand a lot of sites that some were just identified with an artifact or two. We just don't even know what's under there. So building up those partnerships. Save the date. As mentioned, Eric's Talk Friday. There is a virtual HAD seminar coming up for divers. Robbie mentioned the fantastic archaeology and the FAS conference. We have a paper there. There's a plug for that. HMS training, we're still doing an online training on May 27th. Fish Island, this might not be official, but I asked Robbie to look at a low tide morning, and she said maybe June 2nd. So more from Robbie working with the SAAA board, but we still have some sites that we need to monitor before the end of June. So maybe save the date for June 2nd. And we have more monitoring and mapping to do through the end of our grant. I'm going to pause just a second and show you a video. I had as I mentioned, a very serious video to show you, and then we thought, no, let's do it. Let's go for the fun. So